Okay, I think we're started. So, little brief intro. I just want to welcome everybody and thanks for joining us today. Like I mentioned, others will pop on and join us as we get started, I'm sure. So, today's webinar is just super laid back. We have Zach Nye with us, who is one of our entrepreneurs in residence. And really, we're going to open it up to you once he gives his little intro to ask your questions that you have as a small business owner, as a entrepreneur. There's a ton of questions that people have and maybe want answers to or just want to hear other people's opinions. So we're really going to leave it up to you guys to ask your questions once we get started here. But I just want to welcome you. I am recording this, so we will get it sent out to you after this too, to rewatch it if you want to do that, or feel free to send it to other people who might find it valuable. So thanks for joining us today, Zach.
Yes, thank you, Kelsey, for having me. I'm excited and honored. I love these types of discussions. And just so you know a little bit about me, for those of you that are on the call, thank you for joining us, first of all. But so I've been a entrepreneur in Madison for 13 years now. I own a video marketing company called Green Clock Agency, and we primarily specialize in creating videos to help small business and local businesses in the Madison area grow their brand and grow their marketing. So a big part of my background and a big part of my expertise is in marketing, but I've gained a passion over the last 5 to 6 years in business consulting and business growing. And so I've invested in a few businesses, and I've taken on a role that I'm very passionate about at Madison College in helping students prepare for their business and grow their business. And so, although my business and my main background is in video, I would say that I'm much more of a passionate entrepreneur in understanding entrepreneurship and how to grow businesses than I am a creative per se that's in the film business. And so I'm excited to have you all here. This is a brand new series that we're kicking off at Madison College, and we're hoping that it can be very really valuable. We as we met with students, as we met with business owners, we realized that there was a lot of questions and they just kind of wanted to have a dialogue, a back and forth. And when we did the webinar last year, it was like a lot of me talking at people rather than giving them a good opportunity to dialogue. And so I want this to be very casual. I want this to feel very comfortable, and there is no question too small or too big or too new. I'll do my best to answer the questions to the best of my ability and with my experience and knowledge. But if it's something beyond me, I'll be happy to write it down, take a note, talk with some additional colleagues, and follow up with an email or a phone call to you one on one, because I really want to make sure you can get value from these calls. So we thank you for being here. And I'm happy to take the first question whenever you're ready.
Melissa, if you had questions and you want to start it off, you can go ahead and ask one of your questions.
Melissa, if you can still hear us, I think you're on mute, so I'm not sure if you're talking, but just so you know, you're on mute.
If anybody wants to ask the questions in the chat too, you can go ahead and do that if you'd feel more comfortable.
I'm sorry, I was waiting. I'm sorry, I was waiting. I was going to let somebody go first because I had a lot of questions, but they can jump in at any time. So basically, I wanted to know if you knew about the trust, about setting up a trust.
Okay. You have a specific question around setting up a trust, or
Before I set up the business.
Okay. So that's going to be something that it's going to be an individual's preference based on your wealth, based on your family, based on your will, and different things that are going to be important to you and your family. But it's definitely, like, if you have a lot at risk, or if you have a lot of acquired wealth, there are a lot of different tax advantages for having your business in a trust and having a part of it. And so that's something that you're going to want to consult with a trust lawyer specifically that specializes in that. But I definitely think that it can be a very valuable, positive decision that I would recommend. And so it's definitely not a waste of time if that's kind of what you're wanting to know originally. It's worth putting in the research, worth the investment, and worth looking into and finding out for your individual situation for sure.
Okay. What about the holding company that holds the LLC?
Like,
Is that
did you
based off my preference as well?
like as far as setting up the LLC or putting it in the trust?
No, so starting have a holding company hold my actual LLC.
Yeah, you can absolutely have a holding company hold your LLC. It's just like very specific legal questions there's going to be a lot more that goes into like your individual situation, your individual family, your individual preferences. And so I'm definitely no lawyer. I can give you kind of like my experience. Like if setting up a trust is a valuable, absolutely, it is a very valuable tool, and there is a lot of tax advantages in setting up a trust for your business. And there's a lot of legal liability benefits. But it really depends on a lot of your specific legal situations that would be much more beneficial for you to speak with a specific trust attorney.
Okay. I'll let somebody else go before I ask another question.
We have Amadou Sam. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Sam or Mrs. Sam, apologize if I have that right or wrong. Are you with us today? Did you have any questions at all? Thank you for joining us. Okay.
Melissa, I think you can go ahead and just continue your questions if you would like, and then we can just, as others want to ask, go ahead and jump in.
Is there, Melissa, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Okay.
Do you currently have a business set up right now?
Well, that's another story, but we have to talk one-on-one in regards to that.
Okay. So are you
I have two, it's in Illinois, but we have to talk one-on-one in regards to that.
okay. So do you think a one-on-one follow-up conversation would be helpful for you maybe?
Yes. But all my other questions, I don't think that you'll be able to answer because I guess they're basically legal questions, and I thought that's what this was for. This workshop was for. I did not know that all my other questions, I guess basically legal questions as far as like what's the purpose of an S corp and when should I do an S corp and things of that nature. But you're telling me based on the questions that I asked you, you're telling me that I just need to go off my preference and it's a legal matter.
Well, not exactly. So like an S corp, I can tell you like an S corp has a lot of different tax advantages for a small business owner, and you're going to want to go to an S corp when you have consistent cash flow and you can pay yourself a salary. And so like people typically start off a business as an LLC, and that protects them as a limited liability company. It protects their personal home, protects their personal assets from being liable in their business. And they will tend to convert their LLC in from a tax advantage into an S corp when they have consistent cash flow and they can pay themselves a reasonable salary. And so why they would do that is that they would save a percentage of taxes on their Social Security and Medicare tax that we have to pay every single month, on all of your distributions. So an S corp has a lot of really strong tax advantages, and it's definitely something I would highly recommend when a company gets to a certain point of success and they have a certain consistent cash flow. Because if you can't pay yourself a reasonable salary, then basically there's a payroll fine and there's fines that are associated with that tax advantage. So S corp is an incredibly wise and just strong move for any business owner to consider, as long as it is something that they are having consistent cash flow with, because they can save a lot in taxes. Is that what you were kind of referring to with S corp, or did you have any other specific questions that you were deciding between?
Well, I thought that was the whole purpose of, so like when you set up a business, this is just based upon my research. Maybe I'm digging a little bit too much into it. But based upon my research, when you set up these companies, you set it up for the long term. So based off where your company will be within a certain amount of years and things of that nature. So that's why I was asking, because I mean, you would set up a S corp or a C corp based off where your company would be and the projection of where your company will be in so many years of things of that nature. That's basically where I'm trying to go. I don't want to. I want to start off setting it up at the S corp. So what would that do for me if I do start off at the S corp, but I know I'm not making that certain amount of money? I'll just get taxed 2 times, right?
Well, so like for example, for my own personal business, when I started it, 13 years ago, I was in a very different spot than I am today with no employees, and it was just myself and my business partner. And so we started off as an LLC because we were doing it part-time and we were trying to build a business and build momentum and build consistent revenue. And we weren't able to pay for payroll services, and we weren't paying ourselves a consistent salary yet because we just didn't have enough consistent income and cash flow coming in. And so once we got to that point, and we continued to grow our company and we got to a spot where we could pay ourselves a consistent salary, it saved us a significant amount of money in our social security and Medicare tax in order to convert it to an S corp. And so if we were ready to go right off the bat to pay ourselves a reasonable salary, then doing it as an S corp would have been totally an option. And it just depends on where you're at with your business. If you have an investor, if you have salaries set up, if you have other employees set up, starting it off as an S corp from the beginning could be of value. It could be very helpful and could be the right move for you. But if you're just getting started and you don't have any clients yet or any cash flow or any consistent income yet, you may want to consider starting off as an LLC. And then once you start to acquire the growth, it's easy. And it's not like it's a big headache or it's a lot of paperwork or difficult to then refile your LLC, your business entity as an S corp, because you're still an LLC, but you're now being taxed as an S corp. So you can do that because a lot of different businesses evolve, a lot of businesses change over time, and You know, they may change from one to the next depending on where their business goes. So I think that the wisest thing for you to do would be to set up your business what best suits your business today. Unless you like see a major drastic projection difference within like a short period of time. Like if you were, for example, had an investor coming in January 1st of 2025, then I wouldn't set up your business today. I would wait till January 1st of 2025, and then I would set it up based on that cash injection or that investment at that time. But if you don't see any major changes in the near future, I would recommend that you set it up for what is the best platform and the best entity today, and then change it if need be.
But I can change it within 6 months, right? I think the IRS said you can backdate it like 6 months or a year to be an S corp or something.
Yep. Yeah. So, and you can always change it in the future too. So, like if you set it up as an LLC and you don't file as taxes as an S corp, you know, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Like we did ours. I think ours was 2 years into our business when we converted over to an S corp, and so it's definitely something that it's not like if you sign up as an LLC and you're not taxed as an S corp in the beginning that you're stuck with that platform. You have options to be able to evolve and grow as a company.
Did you say we can backdate it 2 years?
It's not that I backdated 2 years. I set up my company originally as an LLC, not taxed as an S corp because we weren't paying salaries yet. And it was about a year and a half to 2 years before we actually converted to an S corp the way we were taxed. So it wasn't that it was backdated, it was that the company just evolved.
Hmm. Okay, give somebody else a turn.
Hey, my name is Fedora. Um, so I'm kind of in a position where I've been in business for a couple of years, and somebody had referred a really good book to me that I'm now trying to look at a different way of framing like how I run my business, and so I had to really think about um kind of like running my business and being in my business and doing what my passion is versus running a business. And so I feel like for the past 3 years, I started it almost 4 years ago. And now it's like I don't want to burn out, right? Because I've been doing my passion and I've been allowing people to underpay me or I not get paid. And so it was the idea in the beginning, like, okay, do it, you know, so you can kind of know how business is gonna go and running and things like that. And now it's like I'm good enough to where I need to get paid for what I do. And so now I'm in the phase of you know, how to build the business. And I think that one of my biggest questions is I'm trying to build a system, right? Because like with providing a service, I find myself, like I said, doing my passion and because it's all individualized based, like it's a service and different people have different needs. But I'm trying to create like this system to where it can be duplicated and I'm trying to figure out what all my touch points are and things like that. And I feel like it's it's really hard to kind of identify that. Like how could you on one hand provide a service that is individualized but still create a system in which you work so that it can be consistent and be a profitable business or something that people can duplicate. If I'm because I don't want to run it and be in it for the rest of my life. I want to be able to sell it at some point, but I can't do that if I'm always in. So what do you recommend?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think that I myself and many other small business owners get to a, tipping point in their business where they battle with exactly what you're battling with. And so to me, the couple questions that I would ask you that might help us come to a good answer and help you start to navigate through this challenge is, one, do you still love and are you still passionate about the actual hands-on work that you're doing? Like when you started it, I'm sure you were very passionate. That's why you started it. And you see both sides because there's the working in the business part of it, and then there's the working on the business part of it. And they're different skills and they come with different challenges. So do you still love the working in the business, or has that part become a little bit less exciting for you?
I'm still very much excited about working in the business. I I want to say I somebody had brought it to my attention to make me question, like, so where is it going? Right? So like, am I going to be the only person that is running the business? And if so, then that means that my business is only dependent upon my capability of being in it. And so like, I'm really particular about, because like people have tried to volunteer, and I was thinking about hiring, and I was like, that's, they're not good enough. And so it's like, yeah. But yes, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, well, and I'd say if you still love doing what you're doing in the business, then I would say, uh, don't you don't have to listen to everybody because everybody tries to say like scale, 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 scale. And just because you scale or just because you start to put processes in place to remove yourself doesn't always bring joy, for one. And for two, it creates a whole new set of challenges and complexes, like having employees and finding the right employees and putting people in place. Like that's one question that you have to be able to dig deep into your heart and ask yourself, is that like, do you want a large company that's scalable, that you are now your main role is leading people and finding the right people and leading those people? Like, is that a passion of yours? Or do you really love doing the work? Because maybe there could be a partner for you who loves doing the business side of things and loves leading people, and you could lead the day to day part of what you're doing. Um, because to me, like I was in that same scenario as you, and I started to quickly realize that I didn't like doing the day to day anymore that I fell in love with when I started, and so it made sense for me to start to step outside of working in my business and working on my business and finding people and scaling so I could remove myself from my business because I was more passionate about the entrepreneurial side than I was the creative side. And I'm in a creative field. I own a video company. You have to be passionate about creativity in order to allow that passion to continue to grow and grow and grow. And so I don't know exactly what type of service you're in, but if you're still passionate about that service, I would say, how can you bring more value to in the business? Because you might be able to, let's say, for example, rather than hiring teammates, you might be able to delegate some of the work to subcontractors, and you might be able to increase your overall price and make more money because you're really, really, really good at working in the business and the value that you provide in the business. So, to me, I think that the the crossroad that we all come to as entrepreneurs is that, do we want to scale and do we want to start to work outside of the business? And does that excite us? Are those our talents? Are those our gifts to like not be doing in the business anymore and remove the actual hands-on work and start to develop more leaders, find people, hire people, primarily work in sales, primarily work in business development? Or does that world not excite us at all? Because a lot of small business owners, photographers, videographers, cleaners, contractors, they got into this type of service industry in the first place because they love working with their hands and they love doing what they love to do. And the people that are telling you that your business is only going to go as far as you, they're absolutely right now. But that if you still enjoy it, if you still love it, if your dream is not to scale it, if your dream is to just provide for your family, make a good financial income and do what you love, are those what you're doing? So to me, I would ask, what's the big picture goal?
Okay, and then last thing, and I'm gonna let somebody else go. Um, so what I guess what kind of clicked to me when you were talking a second ago, um, I'm thinking about because so the service that I provide, I'm a prenatal advocate and I'm a doula as well. So it's kind of you work hand to hand. But I feel like um again, like I'm at the very beginning and the very basic to where I'm so used to being in the book is called like the technician, where I'm used to providing the hands-on service, right? And that's the part that I enjoy because I get the chance to connect with these women in ways that other people don't, right? Um, but when I step back, like I said, I'm kind of also not seeing like any systems that I am creating that would say, okay, once this person enters into, and signs this contract with me, like this is what needs to be done, right? So like those touch points. But and I feel like I haven't found a model of what that will look like. You know what I'm saying? Because like as of right now, when I'm working with them, it's more like, we meet on a consistent basis. I'm going to doctor's appointments, and yeah, that's kind of like a generic version of the system. But I feel like I'm trying to get to a point to where, like I said, it could be duplicated over and over again. But I can't grasp of like how to actually do that and still, deliver a valuable service. I feel like that I've also created the innovation around the service that I provide as a prenatal advocate and a doula. Um, and I can be creative in those ways to add those values, but I just don't know how to create these like systems in order to like if I did want it to scale out and say I wanted to sell Halos Advocates, and here's the prototype, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think anytime you can create systems is definitely going to be incredibly valuable. And I think that, how long have you been doing this now?
I've been doing it now since 2021. I won the Madison College Challenge in 2021.
Okay. And do you have other people that do this with you, or is it primarily by yourself?
I've had other people to well, I've had other people to volunteer, and because of standards, I'm like it's not a good fit. So I kind of like not dealt with people, but yeah. So I no, just to make a long story short, yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you. I think working smarter rather than harder is always going to be a very wise business move. So if there's things that we can systemize, if there's things that we can create processes around, a lot of times there's new apps, there's new technology that can take away steps. Like if you're consistently spending a lot of time putting together a contract or a proposal or a document, and there's things that you can systemize that still allow you to be, the face of
Mm,
um, of the transaction and like having that
mhm.
customer service and that relational aspect. But there's things in the back end that you can systemize. And if that's not your strength, that's a lot of people's weaknesses. And then that's where you have to find out, like, where can you hire someone that can do that? Can you hire someone that can help you create systems and processes? That's actually what I did about 3 years into my business. I was realizing that it was growing faster than what I could handle. And so I hired someone specifically that, like, their background is creating systems and processes. Like, that's their
And
gift. And so I
and
worked a
who
lot
who is that? I
that
mean, not specifically that person, but I feel like I don't know a name of a person that's like, oh, we create systems,
oh,
for
sure.
services.
Yeah, so a good place to start would be like a business consultant or a business advisor. There's a great organization in town here called Action Coach. that like will teach you certain things and walk you through it. If you were to, potentially sign up for some of the starting block courses with that Madison College has offer and different things like that, as part of the entrepreneurship program, there's different people that you could find that you could basically hire as like, hey, this is my gifting and this is my area of expertise. And like you could say, hey, I need to figure out, because again, I don't know your business, but like I could even meet with you one-on-one if you wanted to like dive deep into the problem that you're facing, and I could either potentially offer you some suggestions, or maybe I could make a referral to you for someone that I know that could start to work with you. Because um high level, like I try for these calls, I want to try and be as high level as possible so we can get to like other questions. But if you wanted to meet one-on-one, I'd be happy to do that and dive deep into like your business, what's unique about your business, where can you be more efficient in your business, and where can you start to use systems or technology to eliminate time that you're currently spending. Like I'll just give you a quick example. Like we were sending out emails to all of our clients, and we would follow up and we'd have and so like that's something that can be systemized. And so we paid for a software, and that software that we now pay $80 a month for saves us about 5 to 6 hours every single month of sending out emails. And so if there's things like that in your business that you can start to use technology and software to systemize and automatize, then that's an incredibly, incredibly valuable tool that gives you more time, but still creates a great experience for your customers.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to meet.
Awesome.
When I send the follow-up on this after this today, I will include Zach's information so that, or you can email him directly to set up some time to chat.
Wonderful. Looking forward to that. And whenever you send me an email, send me your website. I want to just look into your business and learn more about your business. I would love to do some research on your industry and understand a little bit more.
That's something that I didn't do yet. So
Okay.
I'm working on that, but I can send you a rough draft of what it is. So I'll send you information before we actually meet.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
There is another question here, Zach, that we have in the chat. It just says, what's the most important things to do in your 6 months of business? I'm assuming your first 6 months would be my guess.
Are there any questions? Okay. So I'll try to answer this as big vision as possible. I think it's a great question, but I think definitely I would love to learn. And I don't know if we can have a dialogue, Amadou, but one thing that would help me is what type of business are you in? If you can hear me, okay. Otherwise, if you can't, I'll just try to answer it from a high level position. Yes, first 6 months. Okay. What type of industry or what type of business are you wanting to create, Amadou? Or that you already created?
I know they had issues trying to use their microphone. I just asked to unmute them. Maybe there was something there, so hopefully that will help.
Okay. And all right, well, I'll try to answer it from a high level perspective. And Amadou, hopefully you can hear me okay. But if you want to follow up one-on-one again as well, I'm happy to follow up one-on-one and take a look at your website or take a look at your business plan and kind of give you some guidance. Because overall, I would say that the first 6 months is going to be different for depending on what type of industry and what type of business you're going into. But setting up a legal entity is definitely going to be very important for tax purposes. So setting up an LLC, going in and registering your business, choosing a business name. If there's anything patent worthy or anything trademark worthy that you're concerned about, making sure that you do those things before you go public facing is going to be very, very, very important. And then to me, I think once you have the legal side of things, it's about the insurance side of things. So making sure that you have insurance so your family and yourself are properly protected. So If you're doing contracting or a service, or you're going to be in someone's home, you need to make sure you have liability insurance and that you're bonded, and things of that nature. So speaking to your local insurance agent to make sure that you're properly covered, I think will be really important. Making sure that you have the proper finance and the proper accounting software set up. So as you start to take in money and as you start to receive money from your clients, making sure that you're understanding sales tax, or if you, some industries you need to charge sales tax and some you don't. And there's a lot of different nuances and legalities to that. Understanding what money needs to go aside for income tax and what money needs to go aside for Social Security and Medicare. So understanding your accounting and your finance is going to be incredibly important once you have your legal set up, once you have your insurance set up, and then you have your financial situation set up. And then from there, I think it's and granted, this is something that you've already proved the concept. So this is like after you start the business. Because if you haven't proved the concept yet, if you haven't proved that there is a need for this business or that people will be willing to pay for this business, and there's an opportunity to create success with this business. Here you go, chat. Let's see. We have a LLC for a home care business and transportation service. Okay, home care business, transportation. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll kind of address it as to an LLC for home care business and transportation service. So for me, the things that I would want to make sure is that it's a legal entity, like you said, you set it up as an LLC, making sure that you speak with an insurance agent, that you have all the proper insurances, because a home care business and a transportation service is obviously there's a lot of liability there, there's a lot of risk there, so you want to make sure. Then you have your financial situation set up, your accounting software set up. Then from there, it's if you are ready to take on clients, and you're starting to take on clients, I think a great exciting thing to do would be marketing and getting out there and starting to tell the community that you're open for business. Tell the community about your unique selling proposition, what you can do different than the other home care and transportation services, whether you're more effective, you're more efficient, you're more affordable, like what is your unique selling proposition. And then from there, it's about building reviews and building momentum in the community. So advertising. So once you have your website and you have your marketing and people know you exist, it's about putting together a social media campaign or putting together videos and putting together exciting reviews for happy clients and things like that, to be able to spread the word, get your message out there to the community that not only you guys are open for business, but here is what the service can provide, and here's why you should hire that service. So hopefully that's a very high level answer. Amadou, I appreciate your question and participation today. If you want to discuss one-on-one and have a one-on-one, I'd be happy to discuss. If you want to send me your website, I can definitely give you some feedback there. If there's certain challenges that you're seeing in the first 6 months, feel free to follow up with those as well. If there's like, you're not getting any momentum on social media, or you're not getting any customers, or you had a hard time finding an insurance provider, or you don't know how to get licensed and bonded. Like if there's certain things like that you're struggling with in the first 6 months, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to help point you in the right direction and make that suggestion.
Do we have any other questions?
Okay, I guess I can ask some more questions. This is Melissa. Is it wise to have, well, I know it's wise, but what percentage am I taking out of each account? So just say if I have 4 or 5 accounts, business accounts, but they all for this one business. So say I have an operations account, I have a tax account, I have a revenue account, where I pay employees or pay like payroll account. I have like a savings account where I put, all these, like just say those 4 accounts, and I put certain percentages aside for that particular. So when my revenue comes in, it just automatically, like say for instance, if I have a payout every week or every 2 weeks, how much do I put in for taxes? Is it like 20% of that? Because you always want to put like a little extra for taxes, right? So what do I put for that?
Yeah, great question. Are you doing sales tax as well? Like, is you?
Yes.
So definitely setting up a quarterly sales tax submission with the IRS is going to be incredibly valuable because a lot of times new business owners, small business owners, they forget about that and they get to the end of the year and they realize that their account isn't as high as what they think. So I think paying those quarterly taxes, generally speaking, you're looking at about 30%. But a lot of it depends on your write-offs and a lot of it depends on your specific situation. So do you work with an accountant for your business, Melissa?
No. Okay, so we we're not gonna focus on the 2 businesses I got already. We're not gonna focus on that. We're gonna focus on a startup because I'm trying to. I want to do everything. So I just want to be on the right path because what I seen with people who I know or however the case may be, they always it's just something with either the taxes a lot or they got sued, and that's why I asked you the questions in the beginning. I don't want to go that route. I just want to be so anonymous and so untouchable. That's basically what I'm trying to go. Not untouchable as far as like the IRS, but I just want to be anonymous with what I have. That's why I was asking you, in the beginning about that trust and stuff, which I'll have to talk to you separate about that. But
Okay.
basically that's what I'm trying to do once I set up the accounts. I need to know how much because I was thinking 20%. So I take 30% off of every revenue that comes in. Or am I doing it quarterly or how is that?
Yeah, I mean, my general rule of thumb is that I like to account for around 30%. Again, is it always 30%? No. It depends on my revenue that month. It depends on my tax bracket that I'm in. It depends on the write-offs that I have. It depends on a lot of different factors. But I think 30% is a good conservative percentage to like proactively prepare for. But I definitely think that if you're trying to be as cash fluid as possible, the number one thing that I have always found valuable that I've recommended to a number of different colleagues and professionals is always pay yourself last and always, any distributions that you ever want to take from the company, um, for growth or for advancement or just for your personal benefit for your hard work is make sure that you're paying all of those expenses as much as you can up front and don't think about just the expenses that are due. Think about the expenses that are up and coming. So you might have a large insurance check that's coming up in the next quarter, or you might have a building expense that's coming up, or you might be moving pretty soon, or you might have a vehicle that you got to purchase. So like proactively paying things up front and not getting your business into debt and paying yourself last is something that has served me very well and several of the colleagues that I've talked with about as far as the advancement of the business.
Okay. Next question. So as far as like the operating agreement or the contribution agreement, when I do the LLC and I put that into place, do I say, okay, any money paid to the company is a loan and needs to be paid back? So I just leave that as like a forever thing, or I leave that for the first 5 years, or how does that coincide with taxes and all that kind of stuff?
Is
Or
it
the IRS or
is it just you in the business or is there other partners and other people?
well, my swimsuit line will be just me, but the other company that I want to do is like a small car lot.
Okay. And will there be other
So
partners in the car lot?
yeah, it's gonna be me and my nephew.
Okay. So it depends, because if it's just you in the business and ultimately you're not taking on investor money, then it's your decision. You know, as you take on capital to be able to invest and grow your business, you can operate that however you want to operate that. But if it's other people involved, if there's other partners involved, then there's going to be a specific line in your operations agreement that is going to identify how loan and how debts and how revenue is taken care of. And so the more descriptive that the two of you are on the same page up front, the better it's going to serve you in your partnership long term. So you might say something along the lines of, you know, we're 51-49 business partners, and you're bringing in 51% of the initial capital and revenue, and your nephew is bringing in 49% of the initial capital to get going. And then let's say there's a debt taken on for the company, and that company debt is going to be 51% your responsibility and 49% his responsibility, but you're going to pay it back in a incremental stage based on your guys' cash flow. So if it's $100,000 cash advancement debt to purchase the car lot or to purchase capital or to purchase, supplies or something like that, then you're both equally responsible based on your equity agreement, your partnership agreement, but you're paying it back in incremental stages based on as you receive revenue and as your company grows. Does that make sense?
Yes. I was writing it down. Something else
But
about
if you're
the,
doing it by yourself, it's completely, up to you. If it's your money and it's your business,
right,
then it's your decision. You can, because I've ran small businesses by myself and I've ran small businesses with partners, and it's gonna be a very different situation if you're dealing with somebody else's livelihood than if it's primarily solely yours. You can make those adjustments and you can skip to pay yourself, or you can go out and take on a larger risk or a larger loan, because the only person you're putting that risk is yourself at that point.
right. So I want to use some of the money that I had invested a while ago, and then some of the money from my regular job, from my W-2. And then what about grants? Does grants does does grants included in that? Um Grants are not taxable, right?
Most grants are considered non-tax deductible donation. So it's like basically hey, this is a government assistance or a donation to your business to help you get started. It's an award. So most of them are not taxable. I do believe that there are some that are. And so it depends on the grant. It depends on the legal status of your business. Like for example, any grant or tax deductible donation to a 501(c)(3) nonprofit is not tax deductible. It's not, you don't pay tax on it, sorry. But if it's a for-profit business, then basically it's a case-by-case scenario. Some of them are, some of them are not.
Right, but are some of them both? I've
Are
seen
some of them
some
what,
of them both. Some companies are both. Some companies are nonprofit and for-profit.
Not unless you have two different entities. So like you could have two different, you can't be set up as a nonprofit and a for-profit under the same name. You could have a sister company, you could have a different division.
Right, which is like a subdivision under your LLC or something, correct?
It's two separate. So like I could have Zach Nye Enterprises is a for-profit, and then I could have a separate ministry that's a nonprofit that's still under my name, but they're two totally separate businesses. One is a nonprofit is going to be a 501(c)(3), and a for-profit is going to be like an LLC or a S corp or a corporation, but two separate.
Right. Okay, and then can I get grants if everything is set up in the trust? Or is that the lawyer question?
Can you get grants if everything's set up in the trust?
Yes, everything, bank accounts, business names, everything gets in the trust name. Can I still get grants?
Are you a nonprofit or a for-profit?
For profit,
And you have everything in a trust and you're filing for a grant to basically help grow your business?
correct.
I would think that as long as it follows the requirements of the grant and, the stipulations of the grant, I wouldn't see why that would matter at all.
Okay, just checking.
I had a question about write-offs.
Sure.
So I feel like and now I'm working with an accountant. She's sort of helpful, but not super. Um, and I found a company that would give me QuickBooks for a year for free. Um, so working with people who cannot afford my services, um, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way to find out what is a tax write-off, right? So I don't know. Like I feel like when I asked her, um, I was asking her specific things. She was like, "Yeah, that could be a tax write-off. Yeah, that could be a tax write-off." But I don't know, like for my business and for me providing a service, what can and cannot be considered as a tax write-off, and where would I find that information at?
Yeah, so each industry is going to be a little bit different, but I can speak directly into what you're asking because this is actually a situation that I went through myself, and I was very surprised by it, to be honest with you. But and I hope that the law changes. This is something I had to like do double research on because I didn't believe it at first. But essentially, when you're a for-profit business and you own a service-based business, which that's what I own as well, and same as you if you donate your services, you can donate your expenses to those services. But if it's your time that you're donating, your time is not a donation. Your time is unfortunately not a tax deductible donation. So like let's say for example, if you donated a service and it was a $5,000 value that you would typically charge, let's just say for rough numbers, but it only cost you $2,000 to do it, you only get a tax write-off for the $2,000 that it took you to fund that donation. You don't get a tax deductible donation for the full $5,000 value. And it's really unfortunate because I think that it should be the opposite, but that's the current law and the current tax deductible. Because I learned that the hard way. My first year in business, we donated a lot of videos to be able to help grow our brand and help serve the community. We donated them to nonprofit organizations, and we donated like $15,000 to $20,000 worth of work. And I thought that I was going to get a tax deductible donation for that, and I got like a percentage just based on the money that I spent on employees or the money that I spent on gas or the money that I spent. But as the majority of the value of that 15 to 20,000 that I donated was my time, I didn't get to write any of that off from my business, fortunately.
Hold on, I couldn't press this fast enough to come back up. But so you're saying because I asked her, I was like, hey, I have a client that I'm working with, and she cannot afford my service, and I'm trying to figure out how to work with her, right? Because I'm trying to prevent burnout as much as possible. And so I said, if I'm providing the service, I charge X amount of dollars for the service for the complete package that I'm giving her. Um, is it tax deductible? And she just like a blanket statement of yes. She did also tell me about the like gas like transportation and gas and weight, like an app to like keep up with that. But I felt like that was sort of the only thing. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's only your expenses for the service.
Say that again.
It's only your expenses for the service minus your pay.
For the service.
Yep. So it's unfortunate. So like if you had a client that couldn't afford your services and you wanted to donate that service to them out of the kindness of your heart, that's something that you could definitely do. But unless there was someone else that wanted to pay for that service, unfortunately, not only you would be out that money as a for-profit organization, because you're a for-profit, correct?
I mean, as of right now, I haven't applied for not-for-profit status yet.
Yeah, the only way for you to overcome that would be if you were to get your 501c3 and become a nonprofit organization, and then you were to accept donations. Then if you were to accept donations, then you could donate those services to those individuals. Otherwise, the only part of the tax deductible donation of that service donation would be your expenses.
And then is there a way, I'm so sorry, my last question would be, is there a way that, I guess I've only been told like, oh, applying for a 501c3 is super hard because everybody in Wisconsin is doing it or whatever. And so, I guess I just never looked into it. I don't know how to start that process.
Yeah, I can get you some startup information on that. It is definitely a long process. It takes a while. There's a lot of review process. I've never personally done a 501c3, but I know a few people who have. So I can definitely get you some startup information. But the thing that I would advise you for sure is to ask around your circle, your network of individuals, and anybody that you know that has actually gone through the full process of the 501c3. That is a person that I would definitely sit down with closely and ask a bunch of questions and understand, because everybody that I've talked with about it, is unfortunately a very difficult process. It was a very time consuming process. Um, but yeah, again, each situation is going to be a little bit different. And ultimately, it's about filing paperwork. It's about following the process, and it's about making sure that your business is legitimately looked at as a nonprofit. Because, yeah, just like anything else, there's people always trying to take advantage of systems and situations. So they have to make sure there's due diligence. But in our one-on-one, please reach out, send me an email. Let's set up a one-on-one. I can get you a link to the startup. I mean, essentially, there's a process that you can start to kick it off. Wonderful.
Is the link gonna be to our emails or?
For the nonprofit?
No, I'm sorry, you were talking to her. I'm thinking you talking about the setup to talk with you one-on-one.
So Kelsey will send out an email to the register when she sends out the recording of the video, and she'll send out my contact information. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to set up a one-on-one to discuss as well.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, with time here, I just want to make sure that we're aware of it. So we will have to end today's session. But I really think that a lot of us got a lot of valuable information out of the questions that were asked today. So I really want to say thank you to Zach for all your advice, for all the questions that were asked. So thank you. Jose, I want to say thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, I will be sending an email, as Zach mentioned, with his contact information. Feel free to reach out to him with any of the questions that you had for today. I'm sorry you weren't able to ask any, but Zach is more than happy to meet with you one-on-one to answer those questions for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. And yeah, some of these, like we're trying a new option with Madison College, and this is designed to just kind of start to get the conversation going, introduce you a little bit to me. But my heart is to try and help. So like, I don't know all the answers, but I do have a pretty wide variety of network in talented individuals, both insurance agents and lawyers and people that can help you guys. And so one thing that was really, really, really helpful for me when I started my business was to have a strong mentor type figure that I could bounce questions off of and that could point me in the right direction. And he didn't always have the answer himself. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he was able to point me in the right direction. And so I want these types of video calls to just kick off that relationship with you, to know that you don't have to do your business yourself, that there are resources right here in Madison that Madison College is providing to be able to assist you to grow your business, to make it more impactful, and to hopefully make less mistakes than what a lot of entrepreneurs do when they go by themselves. So definitely don't do the journey by yourself. Reach out if you'd like to have a one-on-one to follow up. I'd be happy to talk with you about your specific situation, dive deep into your business, help you with whatever I can. And if I can't help you with the answer, I'll try to point you in the right direction to someone who can.
Great. Well, thanks again,
Thanks,
Zach,
Zach.
and thank you everybody for joining us. We hope to have you joining us again for future webinars. We do have one coming up in October for creating a website. And I will make sure to add the information into our follow-up email as well. So feel free to register if you're interested. But if not, we'll have you added to our future emails as well. We have the Madison College Challenge coming up in the spring, and information about that will be coming out. And it's a chance to win money for your business. So a great kind of kickoff for a lot of entrepreneurs within our Madison College community. So thanks again, and I hope everybody has a great afternoon.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Zach. Bye.